So just to let everyone know, most people were saying that they think they have some control, but postgraduate study is new to them. And I think that's pretty healthy, actually. You know, it is new, even for students who have come directly from their undergraduate study. Working at postgraduate level is different. And a lot of students are changing discipline. A lot of students are coming back after some time away, some time working, have other commitments, maybe doing their studies part-time while they're working. So it is completely healthy and normal to feel, I think I'm okay, but I could do with some advice. And that's what we're going to cover in this session today. So thank you everyone for filling in the poll. So today's session is about how to manage your time. What we're going to do is have a little bit of a technical check just to make sure everyone's okay, that you can all hear me and everything. And then I'm going to talk for maximum 15 minutes about how to manage your time in an academic context, just give you some hints and tips that have been helpful for other students. And then there's going to be 15 minutes for questions. We're trying to keep really strictly to the time because obviously there are lots of these how-to sessions running and we don't want you to miss out on the next sessions. So I'm going to get going. Today's session is how to manage your time. So I'm Donna Murray, I'm Head of Top Student Development in the Institute for Academic Development here at the university. I lead the team that helps students to achieve their potential. That's what we do. We help you just be everything you can be during your time with us. We've got an email address if you need to get in touch with us after the session. I'll type it into the chat box. It's ied.students@ed.ac.uk. Okay. So what we're going to talk about today is why you want to manage your time. We're going to talk about time management in an academic context because it is a bit different. Some people think of time management and it's things like, you know, checking your emails once a day or doing things like that. Time management in an academic context has a slightly different slant to it, so I'd like to just explain that. We're going to go over some hints and tips, and then we've got 15 minutes for your questions. So what do we mean by time management? Well, really, according to the dictionary, it's the ability to use one's time effectively or productively, especially at work. In this case for you, it's about study. When it's not just about study, it's about hobbies, family, friends, holidays, work, everything else that you're going to be trying to balance with study. And it's not about being a manager, it's not about scheduling everything 100%. It's about being effective and finding the systems that are going to work for you and the ways you can do this in an effective way for you. What's effective for you will not be what's effective for me or for other people. So it's about finding out exactly how you're going to do this. Generally, being effective means completing the work in the least amount of time to get maximum results. I would say also about doing it in a way that has respect for your well-being. We don't want you to leave everything to the last minute, push up against your deadlines, and, you know, cause yourself unnecessary stress. We want you to be approaching things in a way that allows you to give us your very best. Academic time management means looking at the semester as a whole. When are your assessment deadlines, your assignment deadlines? Do you have exams? If not, fine. If yes, when are they? Obviously, in the current situation, there may be some changes to the exams. So when will you know about exams by? But look at the semester as a whole and set aside time so that you're not panicked about everything. If you've got an assignment in week 6 and one in week 8, don't spend 6 weeks on the first assignment and 2 weeks on the second assignment. That's not really an effective way to manage your time. If you're looking at the semester as a whole, you're thinking about what's coming up, you're planning ahead. So you can get the semester dates online. I'd really recommend you do that, and fill them into a diary of some sort, whatever's going to work for you. Some people like paper, some people like an electronic diary that's going to remind them. And then find out when your deadlines are and add those in. So if you've got an essay due in a particular week, make sure you put that in. And I would also add in little reminders before that. So if you've got an essay due, here we've got an essay in week 5, put a reminder in week 3 and 4 that you have to be doing some work for that. One of the things that is most important is the concept of prioritizing. And I'm going to talk to you about a really simple method. It's one of the methods that I find really helpful. It's called the Eisenhower matrix. Eisenhower was president of the United States. He is quoted as saying he has only 2 things to do. Things are either important or they're urgent. And that's where the concept of the Eisenhower matrix comes in. So you just get a bit of paper and you do an arrow and write important, and at the bottom it's not important, at the top it's most important. And then you do another arrow across that that's urgent, and that's going from not urgent to really urgent. And then you put in the things that you have to do based on that. So are they urgent? Are they important? If something is important and urgent, so if you've got an assignment due immediately, you just do that now. You have to just get on with doing that. If something is important but not urgent, that is the spot that you want to be in. You start it before it becomes urgent. And that gives you space to think about things, to reflect on things, to plan how you're going to do the work, rather than panicking and worrying about it. If something is urgent but not important, you do it if you can. That might be a little bit of the recommended reading that actually would be really good to do, but you just don't have time. And if it's not urgent and it's not important, you really have to look at why you're doing it, and is it worth doing it at all? And I would put into that category things that we all know we do in order to avoid doing what we're supposed to do. So it might be making another cup of tea, it might be sorting out your sock drawer, whatever it is that you do to avoid having to work. You have to think about whether or not you want to do that. The other thing that students find quite helpful is to have a really visual reminder. So put key things, key dates on sticky notes or cards, and move them around until you've got prioritization and an order that works for you. You can group stuff together, so you can group together assignments or exams or times when you're working or family commitments, whatever it is, you can color code it, group it together. Once it's finished, you either take a picture to keep or you stick it in a notebook. And then you go back and look at it and you check, is this still my priority? Is this still what I want to be spending my time on? With all of these things, the Eisenhower matrix with prioritization, whatever you're doing, remember your studying is not the only priority. It's about having a life outside of studying. You may be working, you may have family commitments, caring commitments. You may have a really important hobby that you want to continue with. Make sure to schedule in time for those aspects of your life, because if you don't actively schedule them in, it's very easy for them to disappear. So when you're doing prioritization, make sure you're including things other than just work. One way to do this is to get some sort of planner. You can get planners on our website, you can get planners anywhere, and just maybe split the week into each day, morning, afternoon, and evening, and think about what you're going to do in those different times. And make sure there are good chunks of that week where you're not working and you're not studying, you're doing other things, you're relaxing, you're seeing other people. But if you've got it in front of you visually like this, it's really obvious if you've overbalanced in one way or the other. You know, if you're not working and all of your little sections on your planner are having fun, that's not great. Equally, if there's no room on your planner for things other than study, that's not going to be effective either. So a really visual representation helps you keep track. In terms of actually working, the Pomodoro technique is something you're probably very familiar with, but I'll just explain it. It's known as the timer method. It's called Pomodoro technique because the person who first invented it used a timer that was in the shape of a tomato, and Pomodoro is Italian for tomato. It's about focusing really intently a task. And I'm just going to point out here the difference between a project and a task. So a project is a big piece of work. It's complicated. There are lots of different aspects to it. Your dissertation is a project. A task is a single aspect of that project. So reading a particular paper or having a meeting with your dissertation supervisor, these are tasks within your project. So make sure you've identified the tasks, not some vague big project, which is really hard to get a handle on. But once you've got your tasks identified, you set the timer for a period of 20 to 25 minutes. You work really focusedly for those 20 minutes on that one task. And then you have a break. And you get up, you walk around, have a cup of tea, you do what you like. You repeat that, and you do that 3 or 4 times, and then you have a longer break where maybe you get out of the house or get out to the library, you go and get something to eat. Those very short, intensive bursts with a rest period are really the best way to work intensively on things. I will just say at this point, if you are one of our students with additional learning needs such as ADHD, you may find 20 to 25 minutes too long for you. I would suggest maybe 10 minutes, see how you go with that and build up, but don't feel like you have to do 20 to 25 minutes. That may just not work for you. The point of the breaks is to motivate yourself. You get a little bit of time, your brain gets to relax. And when your brain is relaxing, your unconscious mind is pulling together all the information you've been reading. And it really can do an amazing job of that, but you have to give it a bit of time to do it. So get into that habit of having breaks. And find ways to reward yourself after being really productive. And you've done a really good job, give yourself a little break and a little rest. I'm just going to talk now about how we can help you. Study Hub is where my team have put up everything that can help you, all of the resources, all of the materials that they've developed. Really, it's very helpful to you. Please do look at it. In your resource list, you can look for study skill guides. These will be available through the library, and they'll just have some hints and tips on studying. Really, though, at some point you just have to start time management. You just start doing it. You can read a book on time management, or you can save 3 hours and just try it. One of the really important things is to understand what motivates you and why you're doing it. Because if you understand your motivation, you're more likely to stick to something. And to understand your strengths and weaknesses. So in terms of my strengths and weaknesses, I love deadlines. I like the whooshing sound they make as they fly by. Poor Andy, our moderator, has to work with me, so he knows I'm not the best at deadlines. I really try though, because what motivates me is that if I don't meet my deadline, then the students don't get the support they need, and that's not okay by me. So I will chunk stuff up into small tasks. I will set myself mini deadlines. I will set myself a pretend deadline that's actually 3 days before it's really due, so that I get everything done in time. Because I know that about myself. I know I'm not great. If something is 6 weeks away, I will just forget about it. So you have to understand how you function as a person.